All right, guys. Today what we're going to do is, as we approach the season, for those of you that are playing high school baseball, it's March 1st, which is around the corner. We've done some things with conditioning, agility, strength, power. We've thrown pitches, different type of pitches, and so it's really time to gear up. But what I want to talk about today especially is how do we prepare for game day? What is your routine? What are you actually doing? So I've listed some things here, and I'm going to assume that all of you are high school players, but you can take the same things that we're going to be discussing today and apply it to your summer league teams. And quite frankly, your travel teams or your summer league teams, I think, aren't quite as organized or structured as they should be, particularly with pitchers. So some of the things that we're going to talk about, I think, will be really, really beneficial for you, and make sure that you stick to it, and it's an opportunity for you to establish a routine and ask questions. So let's assume for one moment that you get dismissed from school at whatever time you get dismissed. But let's assume that you arrive at the park, at the place where you're going to be playing, at roughly 2:50, and game time is 3:45. That's about 55 minutes where you can do some stuff where you have to do your work. So my question to you is, every big leaguer, college player, college pitcher, they all have routines. So my question immediately is, what is your routine, and when does the routine begin? When should you be preparing for game day prep? When should you start? When does this all stuff begin? Any thoughts? Can it start the night before?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Start the night before. You start thinking about your opponent, start thinking about what you plan to do. So yeah, you think the night before. How about nutritionally? Should you think about the night before? What should you do the day before you pitch?
Get hydrated.
Absolutely, get hydrated. Make sure you drink plenty of fluids, proteins and carbs during the day and the night before. So all these things are preparing you for the big day, for the game day. Okay, so we have game day. We now take a bus ride. We're assuming that the game is away. It could be a home game, but let's assume for a moment that it's away. We take the bus ride. What are we doing as we travel to our destination? Any thoughts about what you should be thinking or doing? Should you be silly? Should you be totally focused and concentrated? Should you mess around? Should you be serious? I mean, what is your attitude, your mindset on the bus? Oftentimes, it will be dictated by your coach. Sometimes your coach, whoever is your coach, may not tolerate any type of silliness or talking or having music or whatever the case may be. What are some of the things that you do, Hunter?
I usually, when I'm on the bus, I usually think about the other team and their strengths and weaknesses. Usually, like, trying to focus for the game.
Okay, so when you're going from, you're leaving your school to the game, on the bus, you're thinking about what you do well, what you need to do, some of the opponents hit good hitters and maybe some of their weaknesses, and you visualize and kind of see yourself doing things successfully. Okay. Anybody else? How many of you like to listen to music? Do any of you listen to music on the way? Okay. How many of you just don't think about pitching or baseball at all? Tyler. Okay. I don't know that there's a right way or a wrong way here. All I can tell you is you have to get yourself mentally prepared to pitch that day, that game, in 30, 45 minutes or so. Whatever it takes for you to do that. Some guys do not like to think about it at all. Some guys like to visualize. Some guys like to relax. Some guys even fall asleep. I will tell you this. If you are one of those individuals that like to sleep on the bus, you must wake up at least 10 minutes before your final destination. Otherwise, you'll be lethargic. You won't be fired up. You won't be game ready. So if you're going to be one of those guys that just kind of likes to chill and fall asleep, that's okay, but make sure at least 10 minutes before you get there, you're ready to go. And you have your uniform ready, your pants, your shirt tucked in, and all your stuff is ready to go. Going back to the night before or that game day, I would also suggest that you put together your equipment bag. What goes into your equipment bag from a pitching standpoint? A pitching perspective. What would you need to have in your bag? Zach?
Yeah, our team strengths and weaknesses. Like, know what they do good.
Yeah, well, that's mentally, but I'm talking about in your bat bag. What are you going to take with you and prepare the night before so that you don't forget it that morning when you're ready to go to school?
Glove.
Your glove, obviously. What else?
Cleats.
Spikes. What else? Bat. Okay, but we're think of it from a pitching perspective, but you're correct. What else would you need to bring from a pitching perspective?
If you have bands or something like that.
Cords, bands, bring that with you. What else?
Ball, something like that.
Maybe if you have a couple balls, baseballs, maybe the coach, maybe they forgot, maybe they don't have pearls. I would always bring some baseballs with you. I would also bring water bottle with you, your personal water bottle. I'd also bring a towel in case it's a hot day. You know, you wipe yourself off. I would also bring some extra shirts. I would bring long sleeve if it's cold and another dry shirt, short sleeve, in case you sweat. So all of those things you must do the day before or that first thing that morning before you go to school to prepare yourself. If you're in a locker room, it's a different scenario. Well, again, I would basically, when does your routine start? Does it start when you take your shirt and clothes, school clothes off and put your spikes on, your socks, your pants, whatever? So you got to determine and establish a routine. Okay, once we get to the field, right from the bus to the field, how you come off that bus, I think, is important. It certainly is important if you have college recruiters there or you have professional scouts there. They look at how you come off the bus. Are you coming off the bus with your hat on like this, or your hat backwards, or maybe even you don't have a hat, your shirt tail untucked, you're being silly, you're not focused? They look at that. They really, really do look at that. So I would strongly suggest that when you come off that bus, you look like a ball player that's ready to perform. Once you get to the field, you put your stuff away in the dugout. Now at that point, I think things really, really get heated. Things really get going. So let's say we have about 20 minutes. And again, these are general times and general things. You have to make it specific to you, and you certainly have to make adjustments all the time. It could be adjustments based on the weather, the timing of things. As you guys all know, when you're playing high school baseball, sometimes the bus is late, sometimes you forget this, sometimes the umpires don't get there on time. I mean, all sorts of stuff happen. And part of getting mentally prepared is being able to adjust and adapt. So here we go. We're warming up for roughly 20 minutes. What should you be doing when we say warm up, Max?
Stretch. Bands.
Okay, before you do anything, the first thing you must do is raise body temperature. How do you raise body temperature?
Run, go for run, something like that.
Long run,
Sprinting.
sprint work, we call it SAQ, speed, agility, and quickness type activities, plyos, bounding, jumping, anything that raises body temperature. You must do that before you pick up a baseball. Warming up does not come to the field, pick up a ball, and then do your thing. No, you must raise body temperature. What else must you do in that 20 minutes? Well, that's when you do your cord work. I would strongly recommend that when you do your cord work, that you do it with less intensity and you don't do as many reps. And do the ones that you think will get you loose. So do your band work, do your cord work. You might have dumbbells, you might have a tennis can filled with sand. Whatever your routine is to get your shoulders and body loose. What else might you do?
Throw.
Long toss. People like to long toss and throw on flat ground. What else might you do? Stretch, some sort of stretch. Full body warm up. So all of those things should be happening within roughly 20 minutes. So after you warm up, now you get cranking. Where do you go there? Next, you go to the bullpen. Some guys like to throw behind the mound or throw up onto the mound to get that downward plane action. Some like to go in front of the mound in short distance first. But when you go to the mound and you go to your bullpen, that's when things occur. So let me just talk a little about your bullpen. How many pitches? Well, that varies. Anywhere between 25, 35, 40, 45 pitches. I think the objective here is to really perspire. What do I mean by that? Well, some guys just sweat by being outside. Some guys don't sweat at all. But what I'm thinking is this. I want you to be so warmed up that, have you ever had a conversation with someone else and you're tired and you just ran a couple sprints and you have difficulty communicating? It's like, yeah, like, hold up here, guys. You know, that kind of tiredness or heated, sweating kind of situation. You have to be tired and sweating. Okay, so that's kind of the scenario that I'd like to share with you, is that it's hard to have a conversation with someone because you're so worked up. So that's kind of the intensity we're talking about. So you get to the mound, you start throwing your pitches. I like to have my pitchers, the catcher, you always come with a catcher, and you throw, what I like to do is go opposite arm side. So my catcher's always setting up opposite arm side. The reason I have that is because that usually gets the pitcher to finish and follow through. So we have our catcher stand up 2 feet outside of the plate, opposite arm side. Then we go 2 pitches, 2 feet arm side, and then we go 2 pitches down the middle with the catcher standing up. Then we go opposite arm side, 1 foot away from the plate, but the catcher is now always down. So 2 pitches, 1 foot away, 1 foot, 2 pitches, arm side, and catcher's down, 2 pitches down the middle. Then we go to the black. On the black, 2 pitches, on the black, 2 pitches, and down the middle, 2 pitches. Then we go to a righty. We pitch to the L. Up and in, up and in, down and in, down and away. Up and in, down and in, down and away. Then we go to a lefty. Up and in, down and in, down and away. So we do that a sequence of times. Then we work on our different type of pitches. What's really important is that we work from the wind-up as well as the stretch. I don't know of anybody that pitches perfect games. Don't just go out there throwing from the wind-up only. Throw from the stretch as well and work your different pitches. So how many pitches? I don't know. It varies from each individual. It varies whether you're loose. It varies on the weather. It varies if your pitches, you're not getting your pitch over. You must establish a sense of feel in the bullpen. And those pitches are generally your change-ups and your breaking pitch. But you must command your fastball. And you must get loose. So the bullpen is really, really important stuff. What we do after we throw our different pitches, our last sequence of pitches has to be live with the batter. We're throwing to a batter right before we go into the ball game. After we do that, we talk to the catcher on our way down to the dugout. We talk to the catcher about our signs, you know, the different signs that you're going to get. And then once you're in the dugout, you have about 5 minutes to cool down. That's a time to drink a glass of water, a cup of water, Gatorade, Powerade, whatever you're drinking. Preferably water with fruit seedings. Fruit is probably better, or water's better. Gatorade's okay too. You sit down, you towel off, you dry off, you get yourself mentally prepared so that when you go out there in the first inning, you are absolutely ready to go. Did you know that professionally and collegiately, as well as high school baseball, more runs are scored in the first inning than any other innings? Pitchers aren't ready to pitch the first inning. And you have to be ready. You do that in the bullpen. You do that getting ready. You do that to the last batter you pitch to in the bullpen. As far as sequencing what type of pitches you throw, we like to go fastball, changeup, fastball, curve, fastball, cutter. Fastball, change, fastball, curveball, fastball, cutter. And we go through a sequence of those pitches. And we always command. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we do to get ready. I need to hear from all of you what you do, particularly those of you that play travel or in the summer. I just need to know your routine. Do you do any of this stuff? Or is it basically just have a catch with someone and you go maybe 50% intensity? How many of you throw to a catcher? All of you throw to a catcher in the bullpen? How many of you throw to a catcher and a hitter, or a person standing in as a hitter, or some type of figure, physical figure being? I think that some of them called the on deck, or I forget, but some kind of figure. One person out of what, 18, 15 guys here, or whatever it is. So we need to throw to someone. It's a lot different throwing with someone there than just throwing to a catcher. Make sure that you and your catcher are on the same page. Make sure that your catcher understands the routine so he can help you. Make sure that the catcher has an extra ball in case you throw the ball away, or it gets muddy, or it goes over a fence. Don't waste time. When you're going through all this, it's not a time to be lollygagging. Okay? It's time to get it going. And some guys say, well, I'm of the opinion that we got to work hard prior to the game. Think about this for a moment, if you will. Marathon runners, they run what, 26 miles? Do you know that they run several miles before they run the marathon? Boxers, UFC fighters, when they're going into the ring, have you ever seen them? They're drenched. And that's pretty taxing. It's, you know, mentally as well as physically. And I can tell you a story. I was a basketball coach, and we didn't do particularly well, and I was not very happy. The next day, at the beginning of practice, I warmed them up, and I ran them like no other. I was not happy with their effort. I wasn't happy at all, but we ran really hard and did a lot of things at 100%. And after that, we practiced, and we had a scrimmage. And I was watching the scrimmage, and I said to myself, wow, we've not looked this good in a long, long time. And the players were really sharp. And I'm thinking, we worked so hard warming up, and then we scrimmaged really hard. Wow, I want to see if we can continue doing this. The following day, we had a game. I ran them really hard before the game. Not just your usual layup drills. We went into a separate gym and really got lathered up, really got sweaty, and really their heart was going ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. They didn't like it, and they kept belly aching. We got a game today. We got a game today. You know, we got to relax. No, we went hard. In the game, we did exceptionally well. So guess what? From that point on, we ran hard, and we had a very, very good season. So my point is this. We as baseball players, particularly pitchers, are coddled. We don't work hard enough. Now, you only can work hard enough in the bullpen if you have proper training and you understand recovery periods in between starts, which is a whole nother topic. But you got to go hard. But you have to save your ammo for the enemy. So we're not expecting you to throw 100 pitches in the bullpen. You know, cut that baby way in half. But if you train properly, you should be able to handle the volume. And ultimately, it's got to be personal, because every one of you is a little bit different. So you have to adjust and adapt to you. Any questions or comments about some things regarding before the game? Yes?
For when you're in the bullpen warming up with the catcher, how far is the catcher stand away from the plate starting off?
Okay, again, this is something that we've used because, again, when our pitcher throws opposite arm side and he's 2 feet opposite arm side, which is the outside corner, 2 feet from the home plate standing up, I want the pitcher to stand in the same spot with the same mechanics. He's just throwing to the target at different spots. But it's 2 feet outside, 2 feet away from the plate inside, and the catcher standing up, and then 2 down the middle. And then he goes 1 foot, 2 pitches, 1 foot, 2 pitches, and then down the middle 2 pitches. So it's 2 feet originally to 1 foot on the block. That's just what we do, because I like my pitchers to have a feeling and awareness of the difference. And then you're going to be able to find that your pitchers are going to have better command. Ice. Do that after a ball game. We kind of talked about that. Ice and bike or some kind of activity. Flush out the lactic acid and take care of the micro tears that you happen. You have a 3-hour window, as we talked about before, to get that done so that you can recover quicker. But those are some things that you need to do. In between the game, in between innings, if you want to, wear a jacket. Keep your arm warm. And that's a time to relax. You don't have to be totally focused 24/7. Give your brain some time to release. Okay? So, really, really important. I can't emphasize enough how important this really is. Understand this. Ultimately, you are responsible. Not your parents, not the coach. You and you alone know your body better than anybody. Your body isn't dumb if you let it be smart. I heard that once from Dr. Tom House. And boy, I love that saying. So, make sure that you understand, make sure that you're responsible for what happens and for your preparation going into the game. One last thing. I have seen bullpen sessions that weren't very good and you have a great game. I've seen great bullpen sessions where you don't have a very good game. All I can tell you is try to do the best you can, because that way you'll become more consistent. But there's no guarantees. No guarantees. Any other questions about what you should do to prepare for a ball game? Anything different that you do that you'd like to share? Yes?
Bryson says something about heat and ice before the game. Is that any good?
There's something new coming out with heat and ice. I don't feel like I'm an expert enough to talk about that. I like the concept, but I think you got to be careful with that. I don't like to ice certainly before a ball game. I don't like to ice during a game. I see people doing that, so that you got to be careful of that. But there's a way to stimulate. You know, the key to, and once again, we've talked about this, but the key is to replenish the blood system to the parts of your body that were traumatized. You know, so your shoulder's going to be sore, your elbow, your back, your legs, and you got to get fresh blood in there. And you can only create that fresh blood in there by movement. But that's a good question. Anyone else?